Howdy! Welcome to Inspire Mountain Academy. I am Professor Curtis, your instructor for this course in Introductory Statistics. In less than 10 minutes, this video provides yet even more practice for conducting hypothesis testing on proportions. Let's get started. So here we got an example where we're looking at job interviews. So a Harris poll of 514 human resource professionals report 90% of respondents believe the appearance of a job applicant is most important for making a good first impression. Yeah, I guess you don't want to show up to your job interview with, the little clown wig for the hair and, kind of a red rubber nose and I don't know, unless you're interviewing for the circus. If you're interviewing for the circus, then you probably want to go ahead and do that, but otherwise, probably not a good idea. So here we've got the same 5 questions that we've been answering for hypothesis testing on proportions. And the claim here is that no more than 3/4 of the human resources professionals say that a job candidate's appearance is the most important for making a good first impression. So first up, what are our hypotheses? Well, first we think about the claim that's being made. No more than 3/4 of the HR pros believe appearance is most important. So that means the proportion is going to be less than or equal to 75%. 75% is the 3/4, and it's no more than that. So that's the maximum value that it could be. But it could be that because 75% is not more than 75%. So it could be equal to 75% as well as being less than. We do the null hypothesis by remembering it's by definition a statement of equality. So here's our null hypothesis. And next we're going to find our alternative hypothesis. And typically we're going to take the claim, but here in the claim we see there is some semblance of equality there with the claim. So therefore we're not going to take the claim as our alternative hypothesis. We're going to take the complement of the claim. And so the proportion is going to be greater than 0.75. That's our alternative hypothesis. So we've got a mismatch there with the claim. That's okay. We look at that inequality sign in our alternative hypothesis and it says we have a right-tailed test. So a one-tailed test with that critical region there on the right. What is the test statistic? Well, here at this point, this is a good place for you to actually practice some of these skills. So we've been going over this in the last few mini lectures. Now it's time for you to put the rubber to the road. So go ahead and stop the video here and get into StatCrunch. See if you can find that test statistic. Then come back and we'll see how well you did. Okay, let's check this out. So in StatCrunch, you should have gone to Stat, Proportion Stats, One Sample with Summary. Then in the Options window, you've got 90% of 514. That's where the 463 comes from. They don't give you the actual number in the problem statement, so you're going to have to calculate that out yourself. But it's a simple enough calculation. So notice that we get 462.6 when we put that in our calculator. We're going to follow the rounding rules and just go ahead and just round that up to 463. 514, of course, is the total. We got that straight from the problem statement. And then the null and alternative hypotheses. You need to make sure those fields match so we get the right value out for our test statistic. And then we hit compute, and out comes this wonderful results window. We can read the test statistic right off of it. It's actually the second to last value there in the table. So our test statistic, 7.89. Of course, if you got that right, you're going to get the p-value right. It's right next door to the test statistic, and you can see that it's a really, really small number. So we're just going to say that that's 0 for our p-value. Decide whether or not to reject the null hypothesis. Well, take what you've seen so far and make a decision. Are you going to reject the null hypothesis, or are you going to fail to reject the null hypothesis? Go ahead, stop the video, make your decision, come back, we'll see if you made the right one. Okay, let's check this out here. So if we use the p-value here, there's our critical value. There's our critical region. They're on the right tail of our distribution. And we're going to compare the p-value that we got. It's going to be 0, so it's definitely going to fit inside that region of rejection. Therefore, we're going to reject the null hypothesis. So, what do we conclude from the hypothesis test? Again, stop the video, make your decision, come back, we'll see if you made the right one. Okay, let's see how you did. If you learned that pattern that I showed you earlier, then this is going to be pretty much a piece of cake. So the answer that you should have gotten from this would be answer C. Reason being is that we rejected the null hypothesis, so there is sufficient evidence. We have a one-tail test, so we're going to support the claim, and then the rest of the statement is just restating the actual claim itself. So answer option C is the one we want, because that's the one that represents the hypothesis test that we conducted. That brings us to the end of this mini lecture. I hope you found it helpful. You can find more mini lectures for this and other courses at AspireMountainAcademy.com. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.